Hey, thanks for joining me today. I hope you find my video tutorials useful. My disclaimer is if you're expecting expensive equipment or a polished talking head or pictures of huge fish or a world champion fly fishing guru, well, you've kind of come to the wrong spot. In fact, these videos and my channel are my version of grandma's recipes to pass on to my family, grandchildren, and grandchildren. They're simply Papa sharing what has worked for me, in my words, for them and others like you. If you find my videos useful. I was fortunate enough to have learned from Chuck Farneth, who was a world-class guru. In fact, he's an ESPN gold medalist. But he always reminded me that my cast really, in his words, sucked. But that's okay. I mean, we've all got to get better. What I share here today is one way, and one way or one approach that you can make your own. We all have fished for hours without even one stinking bite, casting, stripping, hoping, nothing. Then you see a guy walk up, cast twice, and then he catches a fish, or she. I don't know about you, but that's beyond frustrating. I'm sure you know the feeling. Then the wait continues. Not a bump, not a take. Wondering, what the heck am I doing wrong? You can eat your pride and ask the guy what he's using, or you can put your big boy or girl pants on and systematically figure out what's going on. Fly fishing is kind of like golf in that there are 100 different things that have to result in a metaphorical shanked ball or no fish. When this happens, I resist the urge to rage quit and start systematically evaluating the situation and make some adjustments. Assess overall if the fish should be biting, or if I should be at home watching football or tying flies or something. So I created a straightforward system that I mentally go through when assessing how good the fishing should be. The graphic you see on the screen now is my attempt to capture that and share with you. It's not exactly rocket science. It's more like intuition shaped by lots of failure. If you use this system, though, and if the numbers are low, forget it. You're working against the odds. Maybe you should have stayed home and tied flies or something. But if the score is 4 or more, then you should try it. One of the things I'm going to share now, if that guy is catching fish, you can catch fish also. Okay, check the gear. It's kind of like a ritual, like kicking the tires or checking the weather, but it's very important. I can't tell you how many times my stinking equipment has caused me to lose fish. For example, the dropper was tangled and I hadn't noticed, and I kept casting and it ended up in a big bird's nest. So, check for tangles, check for knots, check for algae on the hook. Make sure the leader length is at least 9 feet long, because after taking flies on and off, it'll get too short sometimes. Make sure it's the right size in terms of diameter. Try a smaller indicator, etc. The overall setup needs to be in good condition and presented right. Everything has to match the mood of the river and the conditions. Next, take a break to watch and listen. At a minimum, it gives the fish a break from a nonstop flogging where you're casting and you just are harassing them. I say you, me. You can learn more from 5 minutes of silence than an hour of blind casting. Questions like, are the trout rising? Are they humping? Are they jumping? Is there a hatch? What is the flow rate? the clarity, the sun position. Get them wrong, any of those wrong, and you might as well be casting yarn or doing 8-ounce curls in your local bar. If the trout are breaking the water, I tend to switch to emergers or dries and change or remove my indicator or swap my indicator for a foam terrestrial like a hopper or a Chernobyl ant, something like that, etc. If I'm going dry, I add 7X tippet because it's less visible. Because out here, the difference between an empty net and a fish can be a single diameter change of your line. Now, some folks will say, use 8X tippet. Well, for me personally, that's nuts. I've never seen a situation that absolutely required me fish 8X tippet. And if it did, to be honest with you, I'm not sure I'm good enough to cast it without making a big mess. Heck, I'm a pensioner. And as Chuck says, my cast sucks. Assess if the conditions are changing. Changing conditions can definitely affect how and what the fish bite, especially in tailwater. Is the river flow changing? I can tell by the water height. Now, not to be Captain Obvious, but you can look at the water on the banks and see if the height is changing. When you get to a spot, pick a rock and notice how high the water is, and then keep checking it to see if it changes. You can also tell by debris all of a sudden starting to flow down the river. Or you might even notice a change in the pitch of the water flow through the rocks. I'm not going to lie, I almost drowned one time at Rim Shoals because I wasn't paying enough attention to the water. That's a story for another day. If the water starts going up, you'll notice the fish bite good for about 30 minutes, at least in our tailwater. Then it just stops. It's like flicking a switch off. And they don't buy any more of my chili for another hour or so. While the water is going up or is moving fast, I work the edges. Okay, I cast in eddies. I cast behind rocks. I look for places where fish hide when the river's angry. Also, when the water is going up, that's when I throw sow bugs or ants because they're being washed off the shore and the fish are sitting there waiting to gobble them up. Then the water is high and moving and fast. I go bigger. Okay, I go brighter, like woolly buggers, streamers, jigs, anything with attitude that says, I'm big, bad, and I'm tasty. We're good. Okay, now it's time to change flies. That quiet admission that maybe, just maybe, I've been using the wrong fly. Some people may pick just one fly and just fish the heck out of it all day, regardless of how good they do. And sometimes that works, but I tend to be pretty quick to change my flies or adjust my equipment. Particularly if the fish aren't biting, or I haven't seen them even bump the hook or fly. Remembering what I figured out from my assessment, I also use that to select a fly if I'm not sure what to do. And if I'm honest, I get to this point and I don't have a clue what to use, I'll look back at what has worked for me in the past. For this time of year, for these conditions, and picked and worked then. So on the screen is a copy of my Papa's Flies. That's a summary of my go-to flies that I've learned to use over the years that have worked well. Flies that have seen things, a fly or flies that match my situation. And they've worked time and time again. I also have instructions in other videos on how to tie all those flies that I have listed on my sheet. Okay, now, It's time to fish. Presentation. Focus on picking good spots and the approach that you're going to take while working the hole. A strategy to systematically either work upstream or downstream, step by step, making as little noise as possible, and adjust the presentation to match the situation. See the fishing strategies playlist for tutorials that drill deeper into this topic. Generally speaking, maintain the best natural drift with the line upstream from the indicator, unless you're fishing with a wet fly, streamer, or non-tactical jig. Fish for a while and still not catching fish? Okay, now it's time to move to a better spot. Give up on that one. Bail it. You can move upstream or downstream. So when you get there, cast to different spots. Change how you cast. Work it for a while. If you're still not catching anything, or I'm not catching anything, I turn on my lucky country music. I go to my happy place. And maybe today's still a bust. Maybe not. That's fishing. Some days it kicks my butt. Some days I catch a ton. Either way, I'm in my happy place. Especially, it's even better if I'm there with my friends. You guys take care out there, and I hope this helps.